History is replete with enigmas, moments when the fabric of reality seems to fray, leaving behind questions that echo through generations. Some mysteries are eventually solved, their secrets laid bare by diligent inquiry or the passage of time. Others, however, persist. They linger like a cold breath on the back of the neck, defying logic and challenging our understanding of what is possible. These are the tales that haunt our collective consciousness, whispering of forces unknown and events beyond explanation. Among these profound puzzles, few are as chilling as the complete disappearance of an entire community. Imagine a place, once vibrant with life, suddenly rendered utterly silent, its inhabitants gone without a trace. This is not a work of fiction, but a chilling account from the annals of the unexplained. It is the story of a village, nestled deep within forgotten lands, that simply ceased to be. Our journey takes us back to the early 19th century to a remote corner of the British Isles. Here, tucked away from the bustling world, lay the small, self-sufficient hamlet of Blackwood Creek. It was a community of perhaps 200 souls, bound by kinship, shared labor, and the rhythms of rural life. Their days were marked by the rising and setting sun, the turning of the seasons, and the simple demands of farming and craft. Blackwood Creek was not a place of great wealth or influence. It was, by all accounts, an ordinary village, its people living ordinary lives, largely unnoticed by the wider world. Their isolation was both a blessing and a curse. It fostered a strong sense of community, but also meant they were far from immediate help should trouble arise. This remoteness would soon become a central, terrifying aspect of their story. The last confirmed contact with Blackwood Creek occurred on a Tuesday evening in late autumn. A traveling merchant, passing through on his way to the next market town, reported a quiet, uneventful stop. He spoke of warm fires, simple fare, and the usual village chatter. The sky, he noted, was beginning to darken ominously, hinting at an approaching tempest. That night, a storm of unprecedented ferocity swept across the region. Winds howled like banshees, and rain lashed down in sheets, turning roads into rivers and plunging the countryside into a terrifying darkness. It was a storm that would be remembered for decades, a force of nature that seemed to tear at the very foundations of the land. When dawn finally broke, the world was left in a state of disarray, but the worst was yet to be discovered. Days later, when the storm had finally abated and the roads were somewhat passable, a small group of concerned relatives from a neighboring village decided to check on Blackwood Creek. Communication had been cut, and their worry grew with each passing hour. What they found upon reaching the hamlet's outskirts sent a shiver down their spines. The air was still, unnaturally so, devoid of the usual sounds of village life. No barking dogs, no crowing roosters, no distant voices. As they ventured deeper, the scene grew increasingly unsettling. Doors stood ajar, fires were cold in hearths, and meals lay half-eaten on tables. Tools were left where they had been dropped, mid-task. It was as if time itself had abruptly stopped, freezing the village in a moment of suspended animation. Yet there was no one there. Not a single soul remained. News of the vanished village spread slowly, carried by word of mouth and eventually reaching the ears of local authorities. An official investigation was launched, albeit a rudimentary one given the era's limitations. Teams scoured the surrounding forests, searched the riverbanks, and questioned anyone who might have had contact with the villagers. Every stone was turned, every possibility considered. Yet the search yielded nothing. No bodies were found, no signs of struggle, no evidence of a mass exodus. It was as if the entire population had simply evaporated into the thin storm-swept air. The only tangible clues were the undisturbed homes and the lingering sense of an inexplicable absence. The village was intact, but its heart, its people, had been ripped away. In the absence of concrete answers, speculation began to fester, giving rise to a myriad of theories, each more unsettling than the last. Some suggested a mass migration, perhaps driven by famine or disease. But why leave so abruptly, abandoning all possessions and leaving no forwarding message? And why would an entire community vanish without a single witness or trace of their journey? Others whispered of a more sinister explanation, a raid by bandits or a hostile force. Yet there was no evidence of violence, no ransacked homes, no signs of a struggle. The village was eerily pristine. Then came the darker theories, born of fear and the unknown. Tales of ancient curses, vengeful spirits, or even abduction by unseen entities began to circulate among the terrified populace. Could a natural phenomenon be responsible? A sudden localized flood or landslide, perhaps? But the village structures remained, and the land showed no signs of such a catastrophic event. What about a collective delusion, a shared madness that led the villagers to wander off into the wilderness? This seemed improbable, bordering on the fantastical, yet it was considered in desperation. The most disturbing aspect was the sheer completeness of the disappearance. Not a single child, not an elderly person, not even a pet was left behind. It was a clean sweep, an absolute void where life once thrived. This totality suggested an organized, perhaps even supernatural force at play. It defied the messy, imperfect nature of human events, pointing instead to something far more precise and terrifying. To this day, the mystery of Blackwood Creek remains unsolved. The village itself slowly succumbed to the elements, its buildings crumbling into ruins, eventually reclaimed by the encroaching forest. Yet the story persists, passed down through generations, a chilling reminder of the fragility of existence and the vastness of the unknown. It serves as a cautionary tale, a whisper of what lies beyond our comprehension. The site of Blackwood Creek is now little more than overgrown foundations and scattered stones, a silent monument to a profound absence. Locals still speak of an unsettling quiet that hangs over the area, a palpable sense of loss. Some claim to hear faint echoes on stormy nights, the distant sounds of laughter or conversation carried on the wind, only to vanish as quickly as they appeared. The case of Blackwood Creek stands as one of history's most perplexing cold cases. It challenges our assumptions about reality, forcing us to confront the possibility that some events simply defy rational explanation. Was it a natural disaster of an unprecedented kind? A human act of unimaginable scale? Or something far more esoteric, something that touches upon the very edge of our understanding? The truth, if it ever existed in a form we could comprehend, remains locked away in the mists of time, guarded by the silent, empty spaces where a community once lived and breathed. The village that vanished overnight continues to haunt us, a stark reminder that sometimes the most terrifying stories are those with no ending, only an enduring, chilling question mark. Follow YouTube #RandomVibesparks for more real stories that sound fake but totally happened.